Charli Damelio is an example of how adults are failing children and not taking the accountability that we're supposed to take for our young people. I'm going to talk about this today. Hello and welcome to Queendom TV. Today I'm going to be talking about Charli Damelio. She is somebody that I've been really feeling like I wanted to talk about on this channel. And first and foremost, what I'd like to just say as a disclaimer, I think Charli Damelio is highly talented, and I think that this is a quality about a lot of the people who I feel are being used and abused in the entertainment industry, and it's very sad. And that's why I'm saying this, because I feel like I want justice for her, and I want her to be able to be made sure that she's being looked after correctly by, you know, just the world and everything, despite the fact that, you know, people these days, it's very clear that they like to make money off of people who have got skills and talents, and they want to take whatever they can. That's why people have issues with their labels and with their management and with even their marmagers and all stuff like that. So let's get into it. Well, Charli Damelio, for me, she's not somebody that I massively followed. I wasn't really on the, I haven't been a massive person on the wave of the, whatchamacallit, the, why am I losing my words and my thoughts? The TikTok movement. There we go. I wasn't massively on that wave in terms of like being caught up in it. And the reason why I wasn't, there's a few different reasons, so many reasons actually. One of the reasons is because a lot of the things that were popping on TikTok were popping with children like Charli Damelio, but were actually very inappropriate for children to be doing, because you'll know that the dancing on TikTok, the popular styles of dancing, was very provocative. I feel like it was that Savage song by Meg Thee Stallion that kind of broke into all of this idea of this concept of these TikTok dances. And I come from a background in dance, by the way. I feel like I can speak about this. I've taught dance. I've been in dance companies. I've done dance competitions. I've done dance here, dance there, dance, Nasha, everywhere. Great. So I feel like I can speak on this as well from having industry experience myself, professional industry experience myself. The way that the dances on TikTok have been, they've been very like simple but provocative. That's the way that I would describe them. And so I personally don't have an issue with TikTok dancers. I know a lot of dancers were offended by TikTok dancers. I personally wasn't. I think dance is for everyone. That's something I've always believed, and it's actually an issue I have with the dance industry sometimes, is that they kind of make it too much of a overly qualified thing, and I feel like dance is something people should just be able to enjoy. So I actually really appreciated that perspective of this whole TikTok phase, and Charli Damelio and people, and not necessarily her, because she's wildly talented. I think she's probably more even talented than I am as a dancer, in my opinion. And if you see her actual capabilities of her body outside of just these TikTok dances, you can see that that's the case. But what the problem is for me is that that's the level of the provocativeness of these routines, and the fact that TikTok is highly used by the younger generation, even younger than me, you know. For me, I feel like I'm more in the Instagram age. I'm more in the age. I feel like you can have the social medias have their generations. You got the Facebook generation, which I was in the Facebook generation. I had Facebook and everything, like since it started, and MySpace and all of that. But Facebook never really clicked, and that's because for people in my generation, the older generation kind of took to Facebook more. So you probably talk to your family and people like that on Facebook. Then you have the Instagram generation. I feel like I'm in the Instagram generation, and I remember the day I got an Instagram account when Instagram first started. And we're kind of more comfortable. That's why a lot of us do business via Instagram, and we have Instagram businesses where we say DM us if you want to order stuff, and you know, or you network via Instagram and you promote stuff via Instagram. And then now you have the TikTok generation. Now the TikTok generation is a bit different. I think these are the youngest generation right now who are like able to use mobile devices and stuff. And so that's an area that really clicked with them. So the fact that these provocative level of dancing, and that I think what I've just illustrated, I think a lot of people can agree with, is true. That where even if you use all three of those social media platforms, which I do, you know that you can kind of see that is how it works. Like where whoever feels more comfortable with what, right, and whoever spends more time with what, also. So I think when we're looking at Charli Damelio now, and I use her as an example because I remember when she was first popping, and I remember questioning her age, because this is something that we do nowadays, and this is why there's this thing that I feel like we talk a lot about how we want to look after children, and we want to stop inappropriate behavior towards children, and you know, them getting going through things that they should never have to go through. But then when we're faced with these kinds of things, we don't address the way that we're dealing with the children on a very more on a practical enough level. And I say that to say that Charli Damelio became the #1 followed person on TikTok for being a 16-year-old, I think at the time, girl dancing provocatively on TikTok. That's why I don't really click with TikTok, because it's really uncomfortable for me to watch a child, you know, and I know I'm not wildly older than like Charli Damelio, do you know what I mean? But even for me, it makes me so uncomfortable. So that makes me question why there's so many adults that are not out here saying something specific to stop this, and why adults not protecting their children from this. And I remember with the TikTok thing, the thing that you can really notice about TikTok is every now and then, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had this experience, you can find somebody who's dancing on TikTok, like children trying to film TikToks, like maybe in a park, and you can see them. I remember seeing on more than on at least 2 occasions, I remember off the top of my head, I remember seeing children doing this savage dance, which is very provocative, like I said, and filming it just in public. So again, it's to me, that's another signal that as a society, we've totally normalized this. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, first of all, I really believe that the biblical model of why God says a lot of the things that he says is, I believe that a lot of it is part of protection and protecting the certain areas of our life. I had way more of a childhood than the children of today. I used to go and play out with my friends. I wasn't thinking about, you know, I wasn't thinking massively like, do I like boys, do I like girls? I wasn't thinking massively about that. I wasn't thinking massively about a lot of the things that I'm thinking about now, even necessarily race. You know, I had friends of all different races. Did I experience some racism? Yes, I did. You know, I feel like this generation of children now are not having a childhood anymore. And a childhood is what's supposed to cultivate you as an adult. That's where you learn who you are as a person, and you learn your character traits, you learn what you love and what you're good at. Those are when the seeds are planted for how you're going to live your life in the long term. And so I feel like now children are not having that opportunity. Children are having to think at a more adult level a lot younger. And I think this is why a lot of children are depressed. A lot of people in the older generations, and this is where the disconnect is happening. A lot of people in the older generations say, oh, you younger generations. I hear people say this. People say this even to me, and I'm older than you know, the likes of Charli Damelio. They say, you younger generations, you guys don't know what going through real stuff is. You guys just think you're whatever. But I'm like, okay, and I thought about that. I listen to when people say things like that, and I think about it. And what I realized is that the children of today have to think so much more like adults than I had to as a child. And the ways that I did have to think like an adult as a child, they were detrimental to me to problems that I have to deal with in my life to this day now. And it's true for other people in my generation as well. And so it's very important, and it's not new. This whole situation with Charli Damelio, it's not new. In one of the problems I have with the dance industry, and part of the reason why I've almost not stepped away from it, but I'm finding a different way that I'm going to interact with it, because I can't interact with it the way that it is that I've noticed a lot that you have these big choreographers, these big choreographers that are really, really well known, the ones that kind of made dancing popular on social media, but more so YouTube and Instagram. And these are the YouTube Instagram ones. And these are the adults I have a problem with, because they will be the ones dancing provocatively. Like, for example, you have Matt Stefanino, and I've always had a bad feeling about this guy. And I'm probably going to do a whole separate video talking about, you know, the dance industry and what makes me so annoyed about these Hollywood, especially these Hollywood dancers in the professional dancing studios, you know, who are the ones who are training up people who are going to dance on tours and dancing music videos for really, really well-known people, and, you know, all those kinds of things. How much they are enabling and encouraging inappropriate dancing for these children. And I respected there was Wildebeest Adams and Janelle Ginestra, I think, who actually implemented that, you know, certain of our routines were going to make 18 over. And that's something that I really respected and I appreciated, because it shows that they understood that children dancing in this provocative way is not good for them and is before their time. They should not have to be going through these kinds of things. So again, it just goes to show you that no, I'm not the only one who's seeing an issue here, and that this is a serious issue. And I think that's absolutely awesome that they did that. And I also think that's why they've had a lot of the success that they have had. So yeah, this is how I feel about this whole Charli Damelio thing, and how I feel like we as adults are failing the children and the younger generation by allowing them to think so much into adulthood. I think this is why, you know, even in the Bible, God talks about a lot of the things in the way that he does, and he talks about how serious it is, you know. He said, I think the Bible verse is something like, it's better to throw yourself in the sea with a millstone attached to you. Is it basically it's better to drown yourself than to cause one of these little ones to sin. And now obviously God's not telling you to actually like throw yourself in the sea and kill yourself. But what he is saying is that's how serious it is to affect a child negatively. That's what an impact you can have on a child. Like the equivalent of you doing an action like throwing yourself in the sea with a millstone is like the magnitude of the effect of that will have on you is the magnitude of the effect it will have of you causing on a child, for you causing them to sin. And when he says sin, he's not just talking about like sin as in how everyone thinks like, oh, sin is just like God doesn't want you to be happy and do what you want to do. No, because a lot of the things that sins that God talks about is he's talking about things that if you do them before your time, if you do these things not in the way that's best for you, it will backfire on you regardless of him being involved. If you really think about it, a lot of the things that God says to us that we should not do, which by the way, he knows we're going to fail anyway, which is why he loves us anyway and he sent Jesus, so we don't have to worry about the fact that we're not perfect, just to throw that in there, is because even if you take God out of the picture, the things that he tells you not to do, if you do them, they backfire on you anyway. And so that's why I heard this guy say this, and I always quote this: the Bible is the book of preventions and cures. If you kill someone, there are consequences that will backfire on you. You might feel bad about it. You might live with guilt for the rest of your life. That's happened to people who've killed people. Maybe they even kill people intentionally, and then they die with guilt because they're like, whoa, I can't believe that I did this. You know, if you lie to somebody, that can hurt them. That can be complete betrayal. A lot of people, you know, in their lives, this has happened to me. This has happened to me. A lie I told once in my own life has come back to bite me back in the butt without God having to like be like, ah, you're going to hell, because that's not what it is, right? But just because of what I did, it came back to backfire on me and affect my life negatively. So this is what I mean when I say when I say that it's important that we protect children and allow them to have a childhood and look after them, because they need for us to protect them from this crazy world, not throw them into it and indoctrinate them and allow them to just be caught up in the mess before they even get a chance to properly understand what's going on in this world and make decisions for themselves based on having a good childhood where they got to focus on knowing themselves, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, what they love, what they don't love, and fostering strong bonds with the close people around them. And then they go out into the world and they can deal with it from a place of having a solid foundation and not just from having this crazy foundation of all sorts of things being allowed. And I'm not necessarily, by the way, even bashing Charli Damelio's parents, although I am saying that, you know, I think more needed to be done to be making sure that her and other people like her are actually being protected. And even if they're famous, they need to be famous for the right things, and we need to stop being okay and promoting the provocative behavior of children. It's just absolutely disgusting, and I don't know why we're not talking about it more. But if you do like this video, please hit the like button. Please also subscribe if you're enjoying this. Loving to see all you new subscribers and talking to you guys in the comments as well, so please comment. And if you want to hear more about, I'm going to be talking more about Charli Damelio and all of these kinds of things. So please stay tuned. I'm going to be talking a lot about this stuff and getting really into the nitty gritties of it all. And I talk about lots of other stuff on my channel. So please check all those things out. Other than that, God bless you all, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.